Many of you know that January was Veganuary. I actually wanted to film this video during the month of January, but didn't get to it. It's okay. Yeah, so I thought I would kind of just tell my vegan story and how I came to, practice veganism. When I was 6 years old, I was in Lebanon with my parents, and I remember we were in the car, and then there was like a truck with lots of cows in it. And then I told my parents, oh no, like what are they doing to the cows? Why are they doing that? That was probably the first time I saw that in my life. Like, animals being carried around in a truck in the middle of a city. And then they said, of course, well, what do you think they will do? They're going to, exploit them for their dairy and kill them for meat. Yeah, my dad always tells me this story. He finds it so funny. I remind you, I was 6 years old, and I said, but why doesn't the cow get up and spritz the driver with her milk and just run away? And, I said that at 6. I feel like I was already quite sensitive to this kind of situation with animals. Also, as a kid, as a child, and growing up, I very often chose the vegetarian options. So when we would order pizza, my sister and my dad would have the pepperoni pizza, and my mom and I would have the vegetarian pizza. When we would have a meal, I would pick out all the pieces of meat. I would never eat the ground meat in the spaghetti, things like that. That is not to say that I did not eat or even enjoy meat. I definitely did. When I was a child, I loved many different meals that the usual kind of roast chicken and those kinds of things. What is kind of funny is that I had sort of a carnivore phase right before informing and educating myself and deciding to go vegetarian one day. I still remember I would go to this ribs place and enjoy these ribs a lot. Of course now it makes me sick to my stomach, but I remember loving it, really, really loving it. Different kinds of examples that I can give you like that. My first year of university, I think it was 2012. I think so. Let me think. No, it was 2011. I remember that year I would love to go to a cafe that was right next to my music section. And I would have this bagel, apple bacon bagel with cream cheese. I would also have this kind of sandwich with smoked salmon and capers and cream cheese. And I can definitely say that I was salivating. I really, really enjoyed these things. So I just wanted to give you a background and say that, I definitely used to enjoy animal products. I loved cheese. I loved, grilled cheese. I used to put a pile of Parmesan on my pasta. There's a Lebanese thing. It's manaish. If maybe you know manaish za'atar, I'll put a picture here. I would also really love eating manaish jibne, which is the same but covered with a Lebanese cheese. And yeah, I definitely loved that too. So anyway, now let's start talking about how I went vegetarian at first. Okay, so I don't remember the exact year, okay, but I think it was 2012 or 2013. I have a friend, and I remember her telling me that she went vegetarian. And I remember she was vegetarian for 4 days. She was like, I haven't eaten meat in 4 days and I feel great. And she's the kind of person who experiments a lot, tries a lot of new things, so I didn't think much of it. But she kept it on. She actually stayed vegetarian. And one day she talked to me about this book called Crudescence. Crudescence. It's a word play on the word cru, which means raw. So raw essence, That was when the whole boom of raw veganism was starting, So yeah, as I said, I think it was around 2012 or 13. I actually decided to buy her the recipe book for her birthday, and I looked at it and I became obsessed. I bought it for myself. I remember trying so many of the recipes. I stumbled upon Fully Raw Christina's channel. So she was definitely at first one of the reasons why I became vegetarian. I was reading through her website actually, reading about why someone would, stop eating animal products. And funnily enough, that was enough for me to go vegetarian overnight, because the explanation that was on there was very justified, with studies and everything. So I'll tell you kind of the main idea that really grossed me out, and I never wanted to see meat ever again. And it was the idea that our bodies are not naturally made for eating meat, animal products in general. Our intestines are way too long. Mammals that eat meat have very short intestines. The meat can pass through very quickly without rotting. Our bodies, on the other hand, since we have such long intestines, the meat takes a really long time to pass through and ends up rotting inside of you. And then your cells are generated from that rotting meat. So rotting animal flesh, basically. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is absolutely disgusting. I never want to eat meat again. And that is how I became vegetarian. I think early January 2013. I'm kind of guessing. I'm kind of confused if it was 2012 or 13. So I was vegetarian the whole year. I was really, really trying my best to be vegan, but I found it a bit hard at the beginning because I definitely was a cheese addict. That was the hardest thing for me. The other thing is, if my mom made cake that contained eggs and butter, I would just eat it, So I was definitely more like vegetarian. Definitely not vegan. Definitely was interested in veganism. I was buying like vegan, like vegan alternatives, vegan milk, vegan sausages. It was like a new passion for me, I was looking at recipes, making like vegan chocolate by myself, making vegan cake, all kinds of vegan recipes. So I was definitely like dabbling into veganism, but I was not at all ready to go vegan. And I feel like I hadn't made the connection in my mind yet. I actually thought that, meat would be enough. I don't need to go all the way. That is when I saw, maybe you're familiar with Freelee the banana girl. She used to make these extremely like well-researched videos with so many resources. The video was like 25 minutes long, called The Cancer Industry. That video changed my life forever. It changed my perspective entirely. And so The Cancer Industry, I won't go into it, but I'll link it down below if you want to watch it. I was devastated. I saw some things about how like the dairy industry works, the egg industry as well, and if you're wondering also about like fish and seafood, when I went vegetarian, I believe I had salmon in February, a month after, starting. And I remember thinking it's not as good as I remembered it to be. And then I just completely stopped. So I just ate salmon that one time in February, 2012 or 13. And then I really, really stopped. Okay, now, so Cancer Industry by Freelee the Banana Girl. She said that the images she found were from the Vegucated documentary. So I decided to watch the Vegucated documentary. And I remember crying. I remember thinking to myself, how can I live knowing that this is happening? If I'm buying something with cheese or eggs, that's what it's supporting. I don't know if you've seen this picture of a little baby chick, and it says, "My birthday is the same day as my death day." And that is the most heartbreaking thing. Because if you've seen chicks in real life, or even just like a picture of chicks, you know how cute they are. They're newborns. And the male chicks get ground up alive because there's two types of chickens that are bred, if you don't know. One type of chicken is the one that will just lay eggs all their lives. The other chicken is made to be huge, really jacked up, and so you can get as much meat as you can. So meat chicken. So the egg chickens that are bred, the males are useless, right? They are useless because they don't lay eggs. So they grind them up as soon as they're born, alive. Can you just imagine that for a second? Every time you get an egg, remember that's what you're contributing to. And also, whoever says those are organic eggs, free-range eggs, that does not make a difference in this situation. Now for the dairy, I just want to say, because those are the two things, right, that I couldn't really give up. The dairy, what broke my heart is the cow is continually inseminated with sperm. So she's literally, technically, like indirectly raped, you know, incessantly. And I think cows are supposed to live like 25 years, but dairy cows live about 4 years, and their whole life they're completely exhausted, and they die because they get, of course, like slaughtered, you know. So yeah, cows are inseminated with sperm, get pregnant nonstop, and every time they give birth, so the veal, their baby, is separated from them pretty much as soon as they're born. They let them be there for like a day or two, and then they separate them. If the cow had a male baby, this male baby will be killed pretty much as soon as they're born, because they are eaten as veal. And then if it's a female cow, this female cow will have the same life as its mother, as a dairy cow. So can you imagine being impregnated all your life for 4 years? So that's only 20% of the life that you're supposed to have. And then every time you do have a baby, you're cruelly separated from that baby. Can you imagine that? Because us humans want your fluid. Your baby growth fluid is not your baby's. No, it's ours, because we like to ferment it, eat it as yogurt, ice cream, cheese, milk. I mean, I know, the thing is, I know many people say, but it's part of so many cultures. I mean, I know, I was in Bulgaria, I was in Georgia. Milk, dairy products, even eggs are part of the culture. I know that. I know it's a hard thing to let go of. Bulgaria, like their yogurt is pretty much half their identity. Georgia, cheese is pretty much their identity. So I definitely understand the difficulty in letting go of these traditions. But just think of all the traditions and cultural things that are definitely not fair and that are cruel for sure. And, you know, many of them have not survived because we humans have decided they are too cruel, you know. Things like sacrifices, you know, like animal sacrifices, I know still happen in some cultures, but in general, that's not something that is continued. That's not a tradition, but slavery, you know, used to be viewed as very normal. Buying humans, trafficking slaves and stuff, that is not something that we do anymore. As I said, it's not a tradition, but it was a common practice. We can debate on these things. And when we have so many alternatives, like today, you can take any recipe, like even yogurt. You can make vegan yogurt, and believe me, if you make it right, like with the right bacteria and you ferment it, it has a very, very similar taste, very, very similar consistency. There's this French yogurt that I was having all the time in Spain, and that was my favorite. It was the Greek yogurt style. It was very thick and rich and creamy. It tasted, honestly, to me, exactly the same as I remember like plain yogurt. I used to love plain yogurt. Like if you're Middle Eastern, you know that having like a bit of plain yogurt on the side is very common. I loved it. It's so delicious. It's like a bit acid, but also refreshing. So anyway, I just want to say that it does not mean you have to give up your habits and your traditions. You just have to change the recipe, change your perspective on it. Of course, we have still a long way to go in veganism. I mean, there are so many vegan cheeses on the market, vegan mock meats that are not the best. I know that. Oh, let's go back to my vegan story because that's a kind of interesting part. So my first year when I was vegan, I actually gained, I think 10 or 15 pounds, okay? Because I was having such a blast trying so many vegan substitutes. But they were all very fattening. So I was having a grilled cheese pretty much every day. Your taste buds do change. At the beginning, I did really appreciate the presence of these substitutes, meat, cheese, and you know all of that substitutes, because it really helped me just kind of do it slowly and gradually and not feel like everything has suddenly changed, you know. I felt like I could still have my recipes that I used to enjoy before. So if you're hesitating to go vegan because you think you're just gonna have salads and smoothies, no, you can have everything you used to love. Lasagna. But yeah, with time, actually after my first 3 months or 6 months, I was actually not even craving these things anymore. I just wanted some whole plant-based foods. My body was just craving all of these nutrients and vitamins and delicious vegetables and fruits and root vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, leafy greens. Now it's actually been, I think, 7 years already that I've been vegan. I think. 7 years vegan, 8 years vegetarian. I actually can't believe that. It almost is unbelievable. Like, how has time gone by so fast? Really quickly, I want to touch upon some kind of unrealistic ideas that some people have about veganism. So, one of the expectations that people have when going vegan is, it will permanently clear up all my acne. The other one is, I will lose the weight that I didn't want to have, or I will gain the weight that I needed to gain. Some people really believe that it will, like, if they go vegan, it's like this perfect diet that is foolproof, and that like suddenly your hair will become super healthy and shiny and grow fast. You'll have no acne, the best skin of your life. You'll be super fit and everything. Those are some very unrealistic expectations to have about veganism, because veganism is not one way of eating, right? There are a million ways to approach veganism. You can be a junk food vegan, you can be a whole food plant-based vegan, very balanced, eating a bit of everything in the vegan world, of course. You can also be more like, I don't know, maybe you eat a lot of protein. Maybe you're someone who eats more carb heavy, more fat heavy. There are so many ways of eating, right? So you have to make sure, just like when you're not vegan, in both sides, you have to make sure you're eating healthy, balanced, nutritious, right? If you have not read How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger, you have to read it this year, 2020. You have to read How Not to Die, because this doctor in his book gives you it's like chock full of studies and proof and just a lot of good sources, and you realize that truly the plant-based diet is the best for us human beings. You have now understood that I became vegetarian for health reasons, but then I became vegan for the animals. So I had health and animals, and then I saw Cowspiracy, and the environmental aspect definitely kicked in. I was absolutely in shock at how much pollution and climate change the animal agriculture industry is causing. If you see like big fields of corn in countries where they don't eat corn, this happened to us in Spain. We were in Spain in the countryside, and there were like infinite fields of corn. Yet Spanish people don't eat corn. So I was thinking, this is definitely for their pigs and cows, for sure. So all that space taken up, all the water that you need for that, the water for the animals and the water for the plants that will be used to feed the animals, not to even mention all of the methane that is caused by, cow farts. It is the single biggest polluting source out of all of them, combined. That's something that I read. Like, if you are trying to cut back on like using your car and shower and all of that, those are all very good things, but they're teeny tiny compared to cutting out animal products from your diet. Now I want to quickly talk also about perfectionism. It is not about being completely vegan, okay? So I know that many vegans put pressure on other people to be like 100% vegan, and if you're still eating like one egg every month, then you're not a good person, I don't think that's true. We shouldn't care about all these labels. We should not care about all these labels. We should only care about the amount of good that is being done. So if you're someone who's eating mostly plant-based, that is amazing, right? So I will not judge you negatively if you're eating like eggs every once in a while or something like that. Of course, I would tell you, you don't have to eat these eggs. You can eat something else. Yeah, anyway, you get my point. So let me know in the comments if you would like to know like my personal experience like what benefits and even some bad sides maybe, but yeah, I won't go into it right now. A funny fact is that before going vegetarian, I was low in iron and I was high in bad cholesterol, which was genetic. And I went vegetarian. That was when I was low in iron, and my iron went up. And then I was vegetarian when I had the high bad cholesterol. And then shortly after I went vegan, and lo and behold, I had no more of the high bad cholesterol. So the doctor was definitely like, wow, that doctor that we have for my family is of Lebanese origin. And he told my mom, because she was a bit worried, like she told him, shouldn't she have a little bit of like yogurt and meat from time to time, or fish? And he said, no, not necessary at all. He told her like there are many Lebanese traditional foods that have chickpeas, lentils, like all of the things that have spinach, and there's something called mulukhia. So all of these things are extremely iron rich, protein rich, and definitely very, very nourishing. So she was very reassured when the doctor told her that. I was very happy at that moment that we had like a Lebanese doctor just to tell her about these things. The Lebanese food that my mother made all my life was very, very mainly vegetarian and vegan. Like there's hardly any difference. Now, whenever I come over, she'll make a little pot without the little meat pieces, but those meat pieces are not important to the dish anyway. They're just there kind of, some people like the flavor, some people say it's just to give it more substance, but she's even admitted to me that the version she made for me was better because she was adding like mushrooms and carrots and celery, and she said the flavor was better, and also it kind of sat better for digestion and stuff. Just in general, like it was really, really easy for me personally. I know some people, their family comfort foods are very animal food heavy, so I know that for them maybe it will be more difficult. For me, I'm very lucky with the Lebanese traditional food. Pretty much everything is either already vegan or extremely easily veganizable, doesn't change the quality of the meal. Tell me in the comments what you think. I definitely want to insist upon what I said, like no need to be perfect, you know. That's not what this is about. This is about doing your best. Everyone is doing their best, you know, and that's it. I'm pretty sure I'm done for today. Okay, so thank you for watching. Join the Holistic Maya family, subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and leave me a comment below. Tell me about your perspective on all of this, everything I've talked about. And by the way, if you're not vegan, if you're not vegetarian, I do not judge you, okay? So leave me a comment about your personal story with all of this, and tell me if you're open to going vegan, or if you've tried it before and you didn't like it, or if you are vegan and you're really enjoying it. Okay, so thank you, and I will catch you next time. Bye!